God created you to be in a relationship with him forever. That's the story. That's the main story. That's the major aspect of the creation, is that this is the main theme, is that God made you to know him in a personal relationship forever. And the challenge to that, the trouble that enters into that story, is that sin enters the world. Sin enters the world. And sin enters the world because you and I, by choice and by the environmental condition in which we find ourselves, we have chosen that instead of walking in line with this primary reason for which the creation exists, which is to be in a relationship with God, we've decided I'd prefer to take his place and be a God to myself. I would like to supplant the God who made me in terms of authority, decision, morality, righteousness, all those things. God made us in his own image, and we decided to return the favor by making a God into our own image so I could do whatever I wanted to do. Ultimately, all sin has in it that theme of there's a God with a love for us and a desire for relation with us, but also a God of perfect holiness and righteousness. And we've said, I would prefer do what I want to do than to be in that relationship. And it's created crisis and trouble and separation when we are not connected with the purposes of God in this regard. The whole purpose of the creation is to be in relationship with him. When we're not connected with that, it is disastrous. And we just see it. You see it in the Bible. We see it all around us today. I think we see it. We see we can't get our hands on God, but we can get our hands on each other. And it plays itself out in anger and rage and bitterness and selfishness and envy and jealousy. And God loved you so much. He loved you so much that he was unwilling to allow us to just simply bear the natural consequences of that, and instead intervened in the most ridiculous, over-the-top, unbelievable way by sending his own son to come to live among us. God took on a human body and walked among us and lived the life that we couldn't live. He lived a perfect life, and then at the end of his life, he bore the punishment for that rebellion from Adam and Eve and Noah's day and Abraham's day and David's day and so forth, all the way down through his own life, and then all the years since then through the Roman Empire and the medieval time period and the Reformation and all these time periods, all of the sin since then, that Christ on the cross, like a sponge, like a giant sponge, God absorbed all of our sin and squeezed it out over his son on the cross 2,000 years ago. And as he died, he paid the price for my rebellion, that like Adam and Eve, I chose to do what I want to do the way I want to do it. And in the process, broke off this primary purpose for the creation, was to be in a relationship with God. I then broke that off because of my own rebellion. I want to do my own thing. But God, out of his love, said, I will have my son pay the price for that rebellion. And then 3 days later, Jesus proved that God had restored the relationship, the original intent, by rising again from the dead. The ultimate human expression of our rebellion is ultimately death. Death, like physical death, is symptomatic of the real death, which is separation from God. And Jesus dies and rises again from the dead to break through the barrier to the reason that you have been made. God made you for a relationship with himself. We rebelled against that, created a massive barrier between us and that intent. And God knocks down walls. He knocks down barriers. He pulls down those strongholds that keep us from the purpose for which we've been made. And he does it in the most dramatic, ridiculous, over-the-top, incredible and loving way by having Jesus be the ultimate barrier breaker by dying for us and rising again from the dead, so that if we will simply put our trust in him, this is unbelievable. That's why I mention that here, because we're going to talk about things like prayer and giving and fasting, and we could inadvertently give the impression that Christianity is about doing these religious rites, R-I-T-E-S, these religious activities or ceremonies the right way. If you become a Christian, this is about getting your religious world lined up. And that would be deceptive on my part to not, in the midst of talking about some of these practical daily religious type things, and not remind us all that no amount of religion can ever knock down the barriers that we have built between us and God's purposes for us. We have been laying brick after brick, pouring concrete after concrete slab and pillars, and just like pouring into the barrier between us and God because of our sin, our rebellion. I want to do what I want to do, the way I want to do it, when I want to do it. And if the world doesn't adjust to that, I get mad at the world. And if God doesn't make it work out just right for me, I'm especially mad at him. And there's this barrier. I want to do my thing the way I want to do it. And God just crushes that barrier through the death of his son, just breaks it. Just breaks it down. And the barriers that we built with our own hands, God just smashes them and then says, for all who will believe in my son, I will restore that original intent